Well, the whole question of agents and the business, there's no sort of one way in. I went to San Francisco State, and I was involved in quite a few of the auditions that they had then, the IRDA auditions. I don't know if those are still around, but whatever does that even stand for? I don't even know anymore. But anyway, I did a lot of auditioning, and then, as I said, I auditioned for graduate schools. And since I went to this graduate school, they had something, it was a 3-year program at that point that was it was quite brutal because it was a cut program. So every year they cut people from the program. So they've changed that since then because it's too hard on people. You know, now they just have a... But at that time they had a 3-year program. By the 3rd year you were either asked into the company or not. And that year 4 of us were put into the company, and we got to our actors' equity cards, which was my dream. And then we also did a showcase in New York alongside all of the other graduate schools. There was sort of a top echelon of graduate schools that got to be part of this showcase thing in New York City. So you went for a weekend, and everybody... they invited all the casting directors and the agents and whoever else would come, and then all the graduates of all of these acting schools would have, I think we had 20 minutes for 4 of us to do a couple of scenes and show what we could do. So when I went to that, I was meeting people really for the first time. I had auditioned for local theaters and like Shakespeare festivals and things like that I had done my audition pieces for, but I'd never gone in to like meet an agent or something. I had one teeny tiny experience in LA, and it was very foreign to me because I felt I was supposed to be something. And I knew how to act, or I knew something about it, and I was comfortable with that. Give me a script, okay, but to go in and, as they say, be yourself, it made me so nervous. I didn't understand why. I think that's why. I didn't understand why. But that was my own inexperience and naivete. That's okay. But and the reason why that is important is because, especially at that point in your life, the camera sees a lot of what you are without having to do anything. The camera they want to see, what do you sound like? What does your voice sound like? You know, are you a more quiet person, or are you more bubbly? Are you more introspective? Or, kind of what are you like? That's all. And most people are pretty polite and nice. Not everybody. The people who aren't are usually, people that are frustrated in their own lives, and maybe they are a casting director for a crummy show that they don't really like and aren't proud of, and so they don't treat actors well. That happens. That happens fairly often. But the people who are truly interested in seeing actors, and they want you to do your best, so they tend to be polite and kind and respectful. But nonetheless, even if they're kind and respectful, when you walk in the room and there are 20 other people who look something like you, there's that moment of, whoa, am I really special? I don't know. I thought I was, but now I don't think that anymore. Anyway, so I remember that when I went to New York, I had a suit. For some reason, I thought that's what you should, like a skirt, like a pleated skirt and a little jacket, and I remember, I don't know what I was thinking, but I guess I looked like I was from the PTA, I think. But I remember going around and meeting people, and, doing my best to kind of, hello, nice to meet you. Yeah, I'm here, I'm showcase, blah, 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 whatever I was saying. And then by the end of the day, I was so exhausted. And I went to meet this agent named David Gus. And I was just kind of tired, And you know how sometimes if you're really tired, you give a much better performance? Because you're just too exhausted to get neurotic. Okay, let's do this thing. So that's kind of how I was. I was like, hi, you know, and I'm a nice person, so I'm sure my manners were fine. Hi, yeah, I'm Annette. And we had this very frank conversation. And he was really funny and interesting and kind of tough. And he said, well, you know, if you ever... I said, well, I want to be a classical actress. And I've done one season at ACT, and they're asking me to come back and do another season. I'd really like to do that. So I don't really want to come to New York yet. He's like, okay, well, keep in touch. And if you come here, you know, I'd like to represent you. And so I kept in touch with him. I did 2 more years at ACT, and then I did a year at the Denver Center Theater Company. And then when I called him in New York, he kept his word. And he signed me. And the other woman that was signed, there was another woman that was signed the same day, very pretty blonde, that he ended up marrying. And I still see David, and he was really good to me. I'm very grateful to him. He was tough. And of course I thought I worked for him, because that's how you feel when you first get an agent. You don't realize that they work for you, but you don't know that at first. You think, how can I please you? Anyway, so then I started going out on lots and lots of auditions, and I got a play, which was an off-Broadway play that moved to Broadway. And that went on for about a year. So that was extremely lucky. And during the time that I was doing the play, I started going out on auditions for other things. And of course, then I was a New York actress, although that was completely ridiculous because I had just moved there. But somehow there is a certain cachet. So I was on the stage, and people could come and see me because I was in a play. So if people are interested and they need to cast whatever, then they can come and watch you, which is what I thought would probably be better for me, rather than trying to do something else. Well, I don't know how I would have done that. Just go and start trying to get into television and stuff. But so now by this time I'm like 20, I was 28 when I moved to New York, and I so then I got a television pilot. I was put on tape. That's how they used to do it, right? That's like old now. You don't do that anymore. You don't go on tape. You do it on the phone or something, don't you? You do it on your iPad. So they flew me out here to Los Angeles. I stayed at the Sportsman's Lodge. The Sportsman's Lodge, which is it's right in my neighborhood. I live there now. It's right in the valley on Ventura Boulevard and Coldwater Canyon. It's called the Sportsman's Lodge. It's kind of a, you know, somewhat hokey-like hotel. I remember I got really lost in the cab on the way. I had no idea where to go. And so I did the audition. I met the people. They hired me. Then I'm doing this pilot. Now, I've barely ever worked in front of the camera. I really was new. And I was very nervous. But I was supposed to be, it was a romantic comedy. And I was supposed to be a publisher. And I was supposed to be sexy and witty and funny. And I was the girl. And then the guy was he was the executive producer and the star. And so we did the pilot, and then I never know kind of like which stories to tell, but there is a story I can tell you about how little I knew. They said, could you please sit into the shot? And I thought, I don't know what that means. I'm an idiot, is what, of course, I was thinking. Sit into the shot. What does that mean? But they said, hey, could you sit into the shot? So I thought, I don't want to say, excuse me, could you please explain what that means? Because I was supposed to be the star and knew what I was supposed to be doing, so I didn't feel I could say that. So I just I was sitting in a chair like this, so I sort of sat forward in the chair. And they said, you know, what I remember is they were all laughing at me, but they weren't, I'm sure. They were just saying, no, that means you have to stand up, and the camera is focused on the chair, and they say, action, and then you sit into the shot. That's all that means. Okay, but that's like a little thing that I didn't know. But those are the things you screen actors that are majors, you know all those things. It doesn't take that long to learn what a mark is and how you have to hit the mark, because the guy who made the focus, you have to hit that same spot so he can put your face into focus. But I didn't know that, and I learned a lot. And then they said, okay, we find out in May on this particular day whether it goes or not. So it's all about, is it going to go? And if it goes, when I was up for it, I went to the network, which is what you had to do then. So it was the network had to approve you, because there were only 3 networks then. And so it was between me and one other actress, Frances McDormand. So I met Fran. We were sitting there at ABC or whatever it was. We each were given a clipboard. On the clipboard was a 7-year contract that you signed before you went in, before they took you. You can imagine that that was a slight advantage on their part in terms of the negotiation. So, you know, we signed the contract. Hi, Fran. Hello. We signed our contracts. The guy is there. He's the executive producer and the star. And we went to the hallway, and then they took us into this, well, they went first. And so I stood outside and waited, and they were in there, you know, and they were doing the scene. And then he came out and did a do-si-do, and then I went in, and it was sort of this dark, it was sort of a smallish room. We stood, which is like so awkward, you know, you're standing with a script like this, doing the scene, and all of the people that were the guys in charge were kind of in lounge chairs in the dark. It sounds so funny, doesn't it? Like nobody got up and said, hello, I'm Harry, I'm head of blah, blah. It was like they all said, hello, you know, and hello. And you know, you do the scene, which I did, I got the job. Anyway, after we did the pilot, they fired me. And I remember the day, because David Gus, my agent, called me, and I thought it's going to be go or not go, right? Those are the options. I didn't think about the fact that there was another option. He said, they're taking it, what did they say? They're not taking you. They're picking it up, they're not taking you. So, of course, back to self-doubt. Well, of course, all of my doubts were confirmed. It's true. I'm not sexy or witty or, you know, good at this, and I failed. And, you know, I mean, it was terrible. It was really, really embarrassing. And, you know, I felt bad. And they didn't really, and they felt bad too. I mean, the guy that was the star and the other producer, they were very nice people, and they just also felt very bad. It was like, there's a problem, well, let's get another girl and make this better, which they did. So, you know, there was a lesson there, and I learned a lot, and but I had my play, so I was going to go on and do the play, so I went on and did the play, and then, you know, I got through it, but, you know, you get fired, or you get, you know, you're in things and people don't like what you do, or, you know, you have to read about yourself in the paper, which is really hard. And that's also part of what we do. Again, it's what you sign up for. So it's not like you can say, what's this thing with critics? What's this thing with people like saying bad things? That's just like, is that part of what you know, when I was in college, I didn't really think about that.